What's up, Ego Hackers? This is Season 12, Part 2, Episode 6. Social Skills and 16 Types. In particular, we're going to be discussing the ESFP archetype this evening. So, social interactions for 16 types. Fundamentally, what are people actually looking for? Why bother being social as human beings? Why bother? Well, the answer to that question really literally just comes down to one fundamental thing, and that is cognitive origin. Everyone wants their origins met. Everyone has a primary origin and a secondary origin. Some people are looking for 3 helpings of their primary origin. That's SDSF types. SDUF and UDSF types are looking for 2 helpings of their primary origin and 1 helping of their secondary origin. And then the UDUF types are looking for 2 helpings of their secondary origin and 1 helping of their primary origin. Because those folks, let's be honest, they have it really rough. Like, really rough. So, given that truth, we have to be aware of what people are getting out of life and what they want. I mean, you have wants too, right? The problem is that humanity is basically inherently solipsistic, thinking of themselves before they think of others, which is consistently self above tribe. As we are a feminine race, as I've said many times. A masculine race is be like the angels. They're immortal, and they think about other people before they think of themselves. They are naturally tribe above self. Yet still, 1/3 of their race was lost to solipsism in the great schism of celestial realms, according to ancient lore. But yeah, kind of interesting how that all works. So, but the point is that, if you guys should really read the books, because, Extrovert Thinking Child loves reading books. You should read the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Do that, right? And basically, if I could sum up How to Win Friends and Influence People from the perspective of Jungian analytical psychology and 4 sides dynamics, that would basically be find out what cognitive origin a person is going for and then give it to them. That is the key to being sociable. That is the key and your greatest social skill, basically. That's your greatest social skill, right? Which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool that happens a lot. Kind of got to walk around a little bit like this, like an idiot, so I don't freeze my ass off. We are in sub-freezing temperature, and I am recording this outside in sub-freezing temperature at the ESFP tree. Ooh, pretty. And it's been quite pruned. Poor tree, but it is what it is. Looks like they repaired it as best they could, and pretty happy with the ESFP tree at this point. So, but yeah, in all social interactions, regardless of social context, the instinct to achieve one's cognitive origin is always present. ESFPs are always aware of who is most regarded in the room, who is revered the most in the room, who the important people are, who the smart people are. From that point of view, they're always aware of that, right? Who's also the most capable in the room, and who is not going, or doesn't look like that they're not going to take away their freedom of choice from the ESFP perspective. That is how an ESFP reads the room, right? Cognitive origins, while typically unconscious, are the single most important piece of knowledge to use for skillful social interactions. What is more important than knowing what people are seeking most out of life? There's nothing more important than that. If you want to, be social and have proper social skills, that's entirely important. You kind of have to know that. You have to know how to read a room, have to be able to psychoanalyze people on the fly, and then eventually get to the point where you're so good at psychoanalysis on the fly that you can actually get to their octograms as well, which makes it even better. We're discussing more on that later in our upcoming course, Real Love Language, when it comes out in the very near future, right after How to Type Yourself launches. We're going to be already promoting Real Love Language. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome course. So, yeah. But, yeah, you need to get to a point where you're understanding other people so that you can forgive them and ultimately love them. And ultimately that is so that you can provide their cognitive origin to them, because a cognitive origin is exactly what everyone is looking for out of life. It is absolutely critical. However, you have to be aware of sexual agenda. So the sexual agendas of hypergamy, which is the female sexual strategy, and sexual strategy for men, which is polygyny, while more socially restricted in certain environments, like professional environments, are also always present, and the sexual agenda can override both nature, which is compatibility, and nurture simultaneously. For example, general action between a man and a woman. A man sees a woman, he's attracted to her sexually, first and foremost. His sexuality is tantalized. He becomes aroused in some capacity and taking a liking towards a woman, but it's always from a sexual perspective. And then that causes his nature to perceive her and judge her. And then he ends up making decisions and takes action in the form of nurture. So his nature being his personality type, his nurture being his octagram, basically. And then that nurtures her octagram, which then leads to a response internally where she is perceiving and judging towards the man with her nature, and that will determine whether or not her sexuality will open up to him specifically, right? Which is pretty cool if you think about it. So then you have also the extroverted octagram, which is the Ouroboros between nurture to nature through sexuality, and the introverted octagram, which starts with sexuality, then to nature, then nurture. So many suffer socially due to their ignorance of other people's types and their octagrams, and basically cognitive origin, and while others are seeking, which is cognitive origin, and many suffer from the brainwashing, which blinds the realities of intersexual dynamics, because it's like, hey, brainwashing where women are taught what to expect from men but not taught how to treat them, and men are taught how to treat women without being taught what to expect from them. So it turns into a shit show, basically. Yeah, brainwashing. Thank you, public school. Masculinity, femininity, and polarity are driving forces in all human interactions. Individually, becoming aware of our social blind spots. Everyone has social blind spots, and our social blind spots are our trickster as well as our demon, and leveraging our innate social gravitas, or social magnetism, which is cognitive origin and basically our parent function, etc., when combined, is vital in cultivating social skills, right? These things are vital in cultivating social skills, trusted connections, and personal success. But ESFPs, just like all the 16 types, we are a social race. We are social creatures. We have to get to the point where we realize that we can't do things by ourselves. And when ESFPs are like ultimately aspiring in life, they oftentimes assume that they should be able to get through life entirely by themselves and have maximum freedom and get through life from that perspective. But honestly, that's not always the case. It's really not always the case. So this leads to negative social perceptions of ESFPs. So the colloquial perception of ESFPs is that they are fun, optimistic achievers. They joke a lot. You know what I'm saying? They're really funny. Especially, shout out to Yuri. Shout out to Email the Anthrax too. Even though you think I'm just a dick for saying that, but I stand by what I said. And they're also perceived as being ditzy, chaotic, shallow, and judgmental, especially towards those who aren't worthy of reverence, worthy of them revering them, or other people revering the ESFP. They're like, well, those people aren't important. I don't care if they revere me. They should be revering me, so it doesn't matter as much to them, which is kind of rough. So these perceptions naturally shift when nurture, gender, and octagram are accounted for. However, like all the 16 types, ESFPs commit various social faux pas, and they come from two primary places. The first one is by believing that maximizing performance means maximizing reverence or respect, deep respect from other people, and using their deadly sins to compensate for their inferior function. And two, being ignorant of how their blind spots lead to the erosion of their reputation. So one of the ways this happens is obviously through the hero function. So though our hero function is our innate strength, the more pridefully we lean into our hero function, the more blinded we become to our hero's insufficiency and our demon function's reality. Oftentimes the demon function is almost like too real. It's like too realistic, whereas the hero function is a little too idealistic over time. And it can actually lead to pride, pride within the hero, which messes things up. If you want to learn more about that, you want to get our Ego Hacking Your Fear course at egohackingyourfear.com. So anyway, we lean into our hero, the more blinded we become to our hero's insufficiency and our demon's reality. The more we feel entitled to our hero's glory, the more unintended damage the demon will do. And let me tell you something. ESFPs, they love them some glory and they love being glorified. Of course, I will admit I glorify Yuri all the time, but let's be straight, he deserves it. So, it is what it is. Shout out to Yuri again. So the more an ESFP assumes that their performance is irresistible, expert intuition demon, the more people will distance their respect from the ESFP. Ooh, that's painful. The stereotype of the popular high school girl who walks around, everyone should worship the ground she walks on, is an ESFP stereotype. In general, it's also an INTJ stereotype, let's be straight. In general, our cognitive origin is extremely threatened when we assume we have it, doubly so for extroverts who consume it from others. And ESFPs who assume they are automatically respected and loved in a star celebrity sense are likely to lose that reverence completely. I guess the star is more likely to be their, their seductive style as a result. Read Art of Seduction by Robert Greene to learn the 9 seductive styles. Although 8 of them are relevant, 1 of them is not relevant. The one that's not relevant is the dandy, because everyone can do the dandy. The other 8 are specific to cognitive functions as well as cognitive origins. And we'll be talking more about that in the Real Love Language series that's coming along, the course. So, anyway, the justification for this behavior comes from extroverted feeling critic and extroverted intuition demon. Devaluing other people's worth makes it easy to elevate your own self-love or even potentially make it look like other people are loving you. That's a really important one. Even if the ESFP hasn't even contributed to others or even worked hard to perform well for others or even put in any effort or contribution whatsoever, which is kind of sad, and that kind of is really off-putting to other people. And do you think people are actually going to stick around? No, they're not. They're not going to stick around, like at all. It's not even going to happen. Like, not even a little bit. So, yeah. So, instead of investing in others, undesirable ESFPs end up investing in themselves. Therefore, we don't get our cognitive origin just by existing, something a lot of FI users need to realize, especially philosopher types. The ESFP doesn't get reverence just by assuming their own value. They have to actually produce value or prove, using their extroverted sensing hero, prove what their worth actually is. But this is also all the time why they are such attention sucks when they are in social situations, because they're constantly feeling the need to prove their value. The problem is that they don't exactly know how to do it properly, okay, which we'll be explaining shortly. Okay, this is why ESFPs are often accused of shallowness, because the veneer of popularity thinly conceals what is beneath. There may be nothing beneath at all. Oh, ain't it the truth? So, how do we deal with those blind spots? Like, what do they do to fix this problem or these problems that come as a result of their behavior? Like, what do they actually do? Well, covering the blind spots, our primary blind spots come from our demon function and our trickster functions. For the ESFP, the first major blind spot is TI trickster. ESFPs can get themselves into big trouble by using their trickster to obtain their origin. This comes through as, if I can shape my narrative or how I come off to other people or how I look to other people, right, I can always be respected. The big problem is that people notice when ESFPs start to change little facts and begin not trusting or listening to what they say. The result is a loss of respect. People can smell fakeness from an ESFP super easy. It's like very common, like super common. Annoyingly common, actually. Very annoyingly common, but it is a thing. TI Trickster is not best used as a postmodern tool for your own elevation, also known as virtue signaling. Oops. This only makes extroverted feeling critic more senile and ultimately more dismissive of other people's feelings and other people's values and other people's principles, to the point where the ESFP will actually start making the assumption that people in general are just bad people, when that's not actually true. There's none good, but there's also none really bad either, if you think about it. Humanity is ultimately pretty neutral overall, and they need to see it that way. So what if you used your narrative as a ESFP, shaping to start helping other people first? This wakes up the critic, and once you see what is actually helpful with your extroverted feeling critic, then you begin to see what's actually true. Instead of just assuming what's true. Based on what? What everyone else thinks? ESFPs are weak to groupthink and oftentimes end up shaping their values based on groupthink, which can be a problem. They need to spend more time researching, they need to spend more time reading to actually verify that concept, right? It's absolutely important. Anyway, but that's ultimately how you deal with the TI trickster. You know, you have to actually be committed as an ESFP in helping other people. So one of the things that I love about Yuri the most is that he actually goes out of his way to be a help to other people on a consistent basis. And it's so interesting because you get to almost watch him discover what is actually true or false, literally as a result of him helping others. And he makes a great community manager for us in the Ego Hacker community on the Ego Hacker Discord. And he's able to do that. If you're not on the Ego Hacker Discord yet, what are you doing with your life? Discord.gg/Ego Hackers. Okay, get on the Discord server and participate in our community. It's a lovely community. It's an amazing community. You should check it out. It's really, really important. So, but anyway, what if you used your narrative? Okay, so anyway, the other blind spot, though, is extrovert intuition demon. ESFPs imagine that their performance, extroverted sensing, is desirable because the ESFP themselves value it. Oh my gosh, what? Cognitive projection? No, that never happens. We don't do cognitive projection around here. No. Cognitive projection, that's not a thing. Oh my God. We don't cognitive project. We don't push ourselves on other people. We don't expect people to behave like us. We never do that. We never expect people to act like our most compatible types or most camaraderie types. Oh, we don't project that onto other people. We don't project our four sides of mind on other people. ESFPs do this constantly. And, while they're not the most self-aware types, they're more self-aware than some of the other types. Take Templars. They're really not they're self-aware, especially Soul Templars, who have the least self-awareness of the 16 types, which can be a serious problem. They're entirely dependent on other people's reactions and other people's values in order for them to actually have an identity to begin with, which is really hard. But at least the ESFP can know their identity, so they actually have less of an excuse. That's important, right? But yeah, ESFPs often end up imagining that their performance through extroverted sensing hero is desirable because the ESFP themselves values it. Oh, I value this performance that I'm getting, so that means other people value it too, right? No, wrong. That is a projection. It is also entitlement. It is also selfish. That is inaccurate. Don't do that. Don't do that. Seriously. So extrovert intuition demon is the fastest way to lose irreparable respect from others, or at least, yeah, you won't be able to repair that respect. Like, you'll lose respect quick. The assumption that they are automatically desirable is often a sign the ESFP hasn't put in any effort, introverted sensing nemesis, toward helping other people, extrovert feeling critic, right? People desire a performance that inspires and helps them. Extrovert feeling critic guides extrovert intuition demon. It's a guidance function, right? So the question you have to ask yourself as an ESFP, are you giving the performance no one asked for? Which is what, guess what? That's what ESTPs do, except you're an ESFP, you actually know your identity, which means you have less of an excuse than an ESTP. Good luck. Good luck. Lay less an excuse. So again, ask yourself the question, are you giving the performance that no one asked for? Beware how that impacts your reverence. Be aware of how that may impact other people's ability to respect you to begin with. Okay? It's absolutely critical. You have to do this. The cognitive origin of reverence, also known as deep respect, however, is a source of encouragement, inspiration, and ultimately awe. Awe-inspiring. You have to be an inspiration to other people. Let me tell you guys, Yuri sure as hell inspires me. He inspires me all the time. So, ESFPs are one of the types that have a larger-than-life presence. Oh yeah, he does. And as they learn to serve others through their performance, they end up welcoming a well, if not commanding a well of reverence in other people where people revere them, right? Let me tell you, our group of friends, we absolutely revere Mr. Yuri. We absolutely do. And it comes from him being one of the most helpful blokes in the entire community. God bless him. God bless him. Okay? Very important. Very important. Because of that, he's kind of like this awesome social butterfly that actually knows what he's doing for the most part. And even if he doesn't know what he's doing, he will eventually, because as long as he just stays focused on helping, it works out great. So for ESFPs to be respected, they must learn to contribute and serve others, just as they want others to contribute and serve them. It is written, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is also written, love your neighbor as yourself. That's how that works, okay? Therefore, what exactly is the ESFP's highest social value to other people, right? What are the social expectations, the actual social expectations of the ESFPs? ESFPs are expected to be high performers, whether in athletics, business, or family life, who encourage and share with other people. Most ESFPs, though, don't like sharing because they're worried about having to share what they've earned with other people because they're so interest-based, right? Introverted sensing nemesis, right? Though often labeled as ditzy, even unintelligent, ESFPs can thrive in academic settings, shattering other people's expectations of their mental capability. I used to be married to an ESFP. Guess what? She was an insanely exceptional electronics engineer. She's very good at engineering, using her INTJ subconscious. It is amazing. I was always impressed by her intelligence in that field. And oftentimes her friends would treat her like she was a dit, but between you and I, that was not the case. It really was not the case. You just had to get to know her a little. You had to be a little bit more patient with her, and then you'd actually start to see the amazing intellectual value that she brought to the table. which is pretty consistent. So what do other people want socially from an ESFP? Do they want your great constant performance of SE hero and attention-seeking behavior? Do they want to watch you conquer the fears of your NI inferior and pursue the path that you want? Do they want to watch your TE child divinely research and gain status through achievement? No. None of these things are the highest value that an ESFP can provide socially or offer to other human beings. Nope. But what do ESFPs want socially? Looking for someone to affirm their masculinity or femininity, to affirm their nature, to be heard or to be understood, to have confidence that their origin, primary, secondary, will be met by another person. The reality of the situation is that people are more interested in how they can achieve their origin or what you can do for them in a social interaction. How many times have we seen ESFPs being entitled? So entitled that they're only leading with their self-interest instead of the interest of other people. The best ESFPs, the ESFPs that I respect the most, are the ones who are not dedicated to their self-interest, but are dedicated to the interest of other people. Dedicated to the end, those other people's interests of other people always line up with their cognitive origins, okay? Every single time. It is consistent. You can bank on that. Therefore, the function that is best suited to contribute to other people is the parent function every single time, okay? So, though the parent function of the ESFP can be introverted because FI parent, right? Like ENTJ's NI parent, the parent archetype is externally focused, just as a literal parent watches over their children and their partner. Again, externalization of introverted functions. We also talk about internalization of extroverted functions. They have an internalization and externalization component. Being a source of morality for other people, right? So, immature, introverted feeling parents put their effort only towards self-investment, being dominated by their own moods and values at the expense of others. Do the opposite of that. Actually invest in other people for once. Do that. God bless you if you can. Like, holy smokes, you know? Ask yourself what you are drawn to in the teachers, authors, actors, and friends that you are compelled by. I believe the parent function is what we are most drawn to in other people. It's a sign of responsibility, courage, selflessness, and competence. What are ESFPs valued for the most socially? Feedback, investment, moral soundness, discerning what is worthy and being a source of gratitude. Guess what? That's the main source of an inspiring ESFP. Thankful ESFP is the best ESFP. They're the ones who can get through any social context. Leading with gratitude, leading with thankfulness, wielding their FI parent for that power. That is everything, and that is the most powerful thing, doing that, okay? It's absolutely critical. So ESFPs gain quality reverence by giving it. FI parent orients the ESFP toward giving respect to the right things. The ESFP will surprise themselves by how much satisfaction they find when they give respect to other people. Ultimately, as long as they're not trying to just gain status with their extroverted thinking child in return. Responsible FI parents give because they believe in who they are giving to. Anyway, sexuality, nurture, and nature remain the tiers of social engagement. Sexuality trumps nurture and nature despite development. But you still have to make sure that you're leading with your proper social skills, which is developing your parent function naturally. A mature parent function remains socially conscious of how it can contribute to other people. A mature parent prioritizes balance as well. Introverted parents lean towards focusing externally, and extroverted parent functions lean to focus internally. Moving from the teenager function to the parent function means skillful balance in how we apply our parent, but a mature parent remains sacrificial and utilitarian towards other people. Okay? Therefore, the FI parents' development does not happen in isolation or in a vacuum. The development of all of our functions is vital. It's vital, not viable, but it also is viable for achieving social value and success. Look at ego hacking for more if you want to learn more about that. But that's the truth, folks. Oftentimes, people are not even aware of these social contexts or these social consequences. If you're not leading with FI parent, where you realize that your own personal value as an ESFP is literally rooted in your ability to contribute to other people using your cognitive orbit, right? If you want to develop your parent function, you need to use cognitive orbit to do that. Oh, how do you do that? Oh, that's right. Use your extroverted feeling critic properly. Stop being so pessimistic towards everybody else. Stop doing it. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. Instead, you're just assuming everyone else is bad, everyone else is immoral, etc. It ends up becoming a huge problem over time. And it's not the best way. It's not the best way to live life. Honestly, it's entirely wrong. It should be entirely avoided. So, what do we learn? Your value as an ESFP socially to other people, you need to lead with help. You need to lead with revering other people so you yourself can be revered. And if you're helping other people, it's basically you're showing reverence to others. Do unto others as others would have you do unto yourself, And obviously, if you would like to be revered, show reverence, okay? It's what makes you a good person. It's what makes you have social value. It's really, really critical. It's absolutely critical. So, yeah. But yeah, that's it for Season 12, Part 2, Episode 6. How to cultivate social skills in an ESFP archetype. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys on the next episode, which will be discussing ENTPs as well as ENFPs for the episode after. See you guys next month for these lectures, Premium Edition. Later.